as we roll on. And now, pleased to be welcomed by the general manager of the Trailblazers, Neil Olshey, who, by the way, at the NBA broadcast meetings in Las Vegas where we were, they had a panel, and Neil Olshey just took the panel apart. He owned the panel.
Knocked it dead.
Standing ovation.
No, the whole panel was good.
Neil, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I don't know about knocking the panel dead, but I know the bar wasn't so high then.
No, that's for sure. Well, you got to, play to your crowd. It was an easy crowd and not terribly difficult to impress that group.
No, because everybody just wanted us to be brief and make sure everybody hit their tea time.
That was the key to all of the sessions at the broadcast meetings. But, hey, speaking of Las Vegas, we were talking about it last segment. Now that it's over, a quick recap of Summer League. In your mind, I mean, Will Barton was really impressive and handled the point maybe a little bit more than at least we expected going in, and did a good job, showed some court vision. CJ averaged 20, looked great at times, shot the ball. I know early on didn't shoot it as well as he would have liked, but certainly did later. Thomas Robinson looked good. What were your takeaways?
Well, I think you guys are pretty much on it. I was a little disappointed. Myers suffered a shoulder injury in camp. He'd been having a really good June, and that set him back a little bit. But, we purposely went in strategically. We had a veteran like Bobby Brown playing point guard, to start the game so that Will and CJ would at least get into the opening part of the game in their comfort zone, which is off the ball. But we really wanted to see what we had there. I mean, obviously neither of them are pure point guards, but both are playmakers, and they're both guards that can be trusted to handle the ball and, and create shots for themselves and others. And I think we came away with a pretty good sample size. We have some film to watch with those guys, what they did right, what they did wrong. And, the beauty of having a flow offense like Terry runs and, facilitating through the elbows and, pass cut, move without the ball, is that you don't really need the ball pounding, ball dominating, strictly, the point guard handling the ball every possession. I think it's one of the reasons Nick Batum has flourished in his system. And I think it's the same reason that you'll see CJ and Will make a major jump this year.
Now, going to Vegas, continuing on, Lillard, they say, had a pretty good first day. Do you have to keep an eye on Lillard that he doesn't really burn out because he's involved in so many different things? Does it bother you at all that he's that energetic?
No, actually, I'm on my way tomorrow morning to head out there for about 3 days of practice to watch Dame, at the trials, and Terry will join me out there, and we'll be there to support him. And, part of the, the joy of being around Damian is he loves to play. And, people talk about that all the time, guys getting burned out. But, if you love the game and you love to play basketball, there's nothing else you'd rather be doing. And those are the kind of guys that we want in Portland. We always joke, right now, there's probably some, grammar school gym somewhere Will Barton's playing pickup in. So,
that's right.
Guys that love to hoop are the right kind of guys for us. And, it's part of the culture we're trying to build. And, we want guys that when they come to Portland, their sole focus is on their game. And I think it's an honor that Damian's been asked to participate in the trials. And, we're all rooting for him to make it, because along with Nick and Victor, we'll have 3 guys competing in the World Championship.
Speaking of guys you want in Portland, we had Steve Blake on the program last week and sat here on the, right here at the desk, and we got a chance to talk to Chris Kaman when he was signed. We haven't talked to you since the signings, and given what you wanted to accomplish this summer and some of the limitations, and certainly the eye on next summer and not wanting to eat into flexibility, and that's kind of the buzzword, but it's true. Got to be happy with what you got. Good backup 5 and a good backup 1 in Steve Blake, a guy that you're very familiar with, a guy who, of course, fans here are familiar with, and a guy who really wanted to be in Portland. I know that's always important.
It is. Well, I think when you look, absent the Dallas Mavericks, I think when you go through the other 7 Western Conference playoff teams from last season, very few made major changes. Most teams, felt like their core was pretty strong. They brought their core back intact, and they made some positional upgrades, but, most of them are on the rotation level. Very few people added starters that were consistent playoff teams. And I think one of the things still have to remember is, we're returning a 54-win team that went to the second round of the playoffs. So, I don't know how much tinkering you want to do with that type of roster, especially when everybody on the team is in their prime or on their rookie scale. So, we had specific targets in mind. We wanted a third big. I think Chris can play either position. He's got the versatility, shoots the ball. The way that we defend, dropping our bigs to the rim, he's not exposed out showing on pick and rolls as a 4. So, we think we can be big. We can shrink the court with our size. And, and then, look, I'm a huge Steve Blake guy. I traded for him when I was back as the general manager for the Clippers. I brought him in with Travis Outlaw at the time. And, Steve was definitely the guy we wanted to bring back. He's great in the locker room. He's a gym rat. He competes on both ends of the floor. And he plays our style of basketball. He pushes the basketball. He gets the ball out of his hands quickly, and he spots and makes J's. And, that's how we play. And, I think he's going to be great. I think he can play behind Damian. I think at times he can play with Damian. But I think both those guys, from a leadership standpoint, veterans that have been through the wars, they've played in playoff series, they know what it's like to win. And, they've also been in some situations where it hasn't been as positive. And I think coming to Portland right now where, this core group is peaking, they're going to add something to that group. But I also think they're going to embrace the fact that they can be a part of something bigger than themselves and share in the success we're looking forward to.
One more question on the Lillard and the current Blazer team. How much politics is involved? A lot of the fans are a little nervous that maybe Wall would make it ahead of Lillard, and Krzyzewski does play a lot of smaller people, Durant at the 4. What kind of chance do you think Lillard has of making this U.S. team?
Well, look, I think if Damian plays the way we all know he's capable of, he'll make the team, and that's in Damian's control. The one thing about Coach K and Mr. Colangelo is they want to win, and they're putting the best group together. And, I went through this experience about 4 years ago with Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon went in, he was a little bit of the dark horse at the trials, and his ability to play both guard spots and his ability to defend point guards and make shots from range, and Eric was a surprise guy to make the team, and he ended up being the sixth man and was a major contributor. So, I think Damian's ability to play on and off the ball will be huge for him. I think it's one of the things that the last 2 years have prepared him for. He's a junkyard dog. I know Terry and I were both there last summer watching him with the select team, and I thought he was the best guard in the gym. So nobody has more confidence than Damian except me, and I believe that it'll be a great asset to those guys. And and watching how he relates and the respect he gets from his fellow players, that means a lot. And one of the things about international competition, the games are a little bit shorter. And it comes quick, and you're playing at a high level, and, there aren't as many timeouts. The games are fast, and you've got to react to that. But at the end of the day, Dame's a gamer, and he doesn't shy away from the moment, and I think that's one of the things that'll serve him well on a big stage in Spain is the fact that this is a guy who's making shots with 0.9 seconds left in Game 6 of an NBA playoff series at home. So he's not going to shrink from the moment, and he's not going to shrink from the competition. And watching how most of the returning players from that trials team last summer reacted to him being in the gym, they gravitate to him, and he carries himself with such aplomb that, like I said, I think that'll be recognized by the decision makers, and I think he's got a good chance.
So certainly positives for playing on the U.S. team, and there's some positives for maybe not. And some of the power forwards, including Lamarcus Aldridge, not going to be there. And you talk about the Houston series, and watching the other day, I think it was on NBA.com, was going through the top 10 playoff performances individually, and Lamarcus Aldridge was on there twice, and he was the top one listed on there. Lamarcus had a phenomenal season, phenomenal playoffs, and will get a little extra time this summer because he is not involved with the Team USA. And we haven't talked to you on the air since the meeting you had with Lamarcus and where that all stands, and I think people understand where he's at financially and why the extension now, it's so much more beneficial for him to wait, but I know that he has said all the right things and is certainly fired up at this point and loves the moves that you have made and loves what Terry has done, loves the fact that Terry is extended, and he is going to be here as well. So address Lamarcus for a minute as the leader of this team and the guy coming off the season that he just had looking into next season.
Well, look, Damian's having a great summer, and he'll continue. He's had a great career to this point. But Lamarcus is the cornerstone of the franchise. He's been here. He preceded me. He preceded Terry. He preceded Chris McGowan. He's preceded everybody on the roster basically. And and Lamarcus is still here. And whatever question marks anybody had about Lamarcus Aldridge were answered last season when we got a true center next to the guy. I think he's the best power forward in the game, and clearly those first two games in Houston illustrated that he can take control of the series and be a number one guy. You know, Paul Allen and myself went down and met with he and Arn Tellem. And look, the economics didn't make sense, you know, to do a 3-year extension, but it was a show of respect. And I think it was about, you know, it was more than a formality, but I think it really meant something to Lamarcus that we went to him as soon as we could. We sat down. We offered him the ability to structure a deal any way he wanted to. And the economics are the economics. And, you know, I worked for Arn Tellem, and I understand that, and I understood that going in. But I think the battle that had to be won and fought was getting Lamarcus to want to be here. You know, the economics will take care of themselves. They always do. You know, but players' desire to be with a certain franchise, that's the battle. And I think we've won that battle at this point, and it's a battle we continue to fight every day, not just with Lamarcus, but with guys like Damian and Nick and Wesley and Robin, you know, the core group of this franchise that we want them to want to be in Portland and build something along with us. And, you know, the new CBA is more about player retention and the ability to retain your players, and the odds are in your favor, but you've still got to do things the right way, create a culture of winning, a winning atmosphere, put your players first in every decision you make. And at the end of the day, players want to win. And if you can prove that you can build a situation where they have a chance to win at a high level like we did last year and still have the growth and flexibility forward to add more pieces, then I think that's what's going to be a priority in their decision-making.
Two things in the news that we want to be, because you're very familiar with it. The Clips situation today, what the judge ruled, and Kevin Love, where's he going to end up?
Oh, well, you know what, I can't. I didn't go to law school, so I can't comment on the Sterling situation. And, you know, I've got my own power forward, and that's the only one that I'm worried about. And that's Lamarcus Aldridge. And beyond that, you know what, everybody else plays their own. You're the golfer, Coach Rice. Everybody plays their own ball.
That's right. Play your own ball. I love that quote. Neil, we appreciate the time very much. Enjoy the trip to Vegas and give Damian our best, and good luck to him. And thanks for the time, as always.
You got it, guys. Thanks very much.
All right, Neil Olshey, Trailblazers General Manager.